In today's digital age, information travels faster than ever before. With just one click, a post can reach millions of people, influence opinions, spark emotions, and shape reality. Yet, behind the screens and headlines, not everything we see online reflects the truth. Some information is intentionally manipulated, some are misunderstood, while others are shared to damage reputations or provoke conflict. Because of the rapid spread of information through social media and digital platforms, it becomes more important for us to learn how to evaluate the content we consume online. A pleasant day, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, Sir Peter. I am Rachel Maurice Elragut, and I am from 11 Aspiration. And today I am here to present the different forms of fake news or information disorder. So, the objectives of this information is to discuss the three forms of information disorder: misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Second is to present and analyze selected posts or content related to each type of information disorder, to examine the accuracy, intent, context, and impact of each post or content, and to explain the basis for identifying whether the content is misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation. And lastly, is to promote critical thinking and responsible evaluation of online information before sharing it. Now, the three main forms of information disorder or the types of fake news are disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. Now let us first define each type of information disorder. So first is disinformation. Disinformation are false information deliberately created and spread to deceive, manipulate public opinion, or cause harm. So an example of disinformation is a quote or statement that says, Duterte ang ugat ng bulok na sistema, allegedly spoken by Senator Raffy Tulfo. At first glance, the post appears believable because it uses pictures of Senator Raffy Tulfo and former President Rodrigo Duterte. However, when I carefully examined the content, several inconsistencies immediately became noticeable. The first thing I analyzed was the source of the post. The account or page that uploaded the content was not a verified or credible news source. This already raised suspicion because reliable political statements are usually reported by legitimate media organizations. So these are the comments that the people commented. They've expressed their anger towards Senator Rafi Tulfo. So next is I examined the images used in the post. I discovered that the picture of Senator Rafi Tulfo on the second picture on the left side was taken during a Senate hearing, while on the right side a picture of former President Rodrigo Duterte came from one of his speeches. These two images originally came from completely different events and context. However, the creator intentionally combined the picture in one frame to create conflict and tension between the two personalities. This technique manipulates the audience emotionally and makes the fabricated statement appear believable. After analyzing the visuals, I proceeded to fact check the statement itself. So, here are the video. Here is the video. So I searched the exact quote. Duterte ang ugat ng bulok na sistema through Google. Okay, so to verify whether Senator Rafi Tulfo truly said it, during my search, I encountered several posts and images claiming that the quote was fake. However, simply seeing people say that it is fake is not enough evidence to conclude that it is truly false. So, to further verify the claim, I searched for reliable fact-checking sources and eventually I found an article from Files that thoroughly debunked the statement and confirmed that the quote was fabricated and had no verified source. I also found another Facebook post containing the same claim, so it is false information, and Facebook had already labeled it as false information. So furthermore, I examined the impact of the post through the comment section, which I have presented earlier. Many people believed the statement immediately and began expressing anger, condemnation, and hateful remarks towards Senator Rafi Tulfo. This demonstrates how false information can manipulate public opinion and trigger emotional reactions from people who fail to verify the content first. So, therefore, I identify this as disinformation because it is false information intentionally created and spread to deceive the public and manipulate people's perception of Senator Rafi Tulfo. It is specifically fabricated content because the quote itself was invented and manipulated content because unrelated images were combined to support the false narrative. So for another example of this information is an Instagram post about an emergency heat alert claiming that from April 19 to May 31, temperatures in the Philippines would reach 45 to 55 degrees Celsius. So at first glance, the post appeared to be alarming and believable because it was formatted similarly to official weather advisories. Since the content could potentially cause fear and panic among people, I carefully verified the authenticity of the information. So the first thing that I did was conduct a reverse image search through Google. So through the research results, I noticed that the same image was circulating on multiple social media platforms and pages. So I also saw an AI overview stating that the heat alert was fake. However, I continued searching because AI overviews alone are not enough evidence to completely verify a claim. So as I scrolled further, I found fact-checking articles discussing the same image. So Verifiles so I came across to a Verifile article. So Verifiles analyzed the graphic and stated that it was AI generated. The article also mentioned that an AI detection tool was used to identify the image as artificially generated. So, while examining the post itself, I noticed another important detail. So, there was a visible Gemini logo embedded within the graphic are that is debunked by Verifiles. So, this strongly suggests that the image was generated using Google Gemini or another AI tool. The design of the post imitated official emergency warning graphics to make it appear legitimate and trustworthy. So after analyzing both the visual elements and the verification reports, I concluded that the post was disinformation, a fabricated content because the warning itself was entirely false, and it was also manipulated content because artificial intelligence was used to create the image, and imposter content because it imitated the style of legitimate weather or emergency advisories. So, therefore, I classified it as disinformation because the false information was intentionally created and disseminated online to deceive people and possibly spread fear or panic among the public. So, this picture is another example of disinformation. It is a picture of Dr. Tony Liachon, who is allegedly endorsing a medical product. So, at first glance, the advertisement appears credible because it features Dr. Tony Liachon, who is a well-known cardiologist and internist in the Philippines. Because he is a respected medical professional with many contributions in the field of medicine, many people could easily believe the advertisement and trust the product being promoted. However, I became suspicious of this advertisement because medical products that uses celebrity or professional endorsements are often exploited by scammers to gain public trust. So so I verified whether Dr. Liachon truly endorsed the product. So the first step that I did was that I visited Dr. Tony Liachon's official Facebook account. So there, I found a post directly addressing and debunking the circulating advertisement. So in his statement and his post, he clarified that he does not endorse the product and warned the public about the unauthorized use of his identity and image. So to further strengthen the verification process, I searched for additional reports from reliable organizations and media outlets. So Verifiles also fact-checked the advertisement and confirmed that it was fake. So Rappler also published reports about Dr. Liachon filing complaints against products using fake endorsements, while CNN Philippines also clarified that he was not connected to the product being advertised. So as I examine the advertisement more closely, so these are the fake pictures that are used wherein the product was edited and here. So we compare it to the original, there was no product involved, and then to the edited one, there was then a product presented, showcasing that Dr. Tony Liachon endorsed that product wherein the truth is he did not endorse such thing. So as I examined the advertisement more closely, I noticed that the image used in the ad was actually taken from Dr. Liachon's official Facebook profile picture. So the creator digitally edited the image by inserting pictures of the product to make it appear as though he was endorsing it. This is a clear example of image manipulation intended to deceive consumers. So, because of the evidence gathered through fact checking and source verification, I identified the post as disinformation. It is a fabricated content because the claim itself is entirely false, and it is an imposter content because the advertisers used Dr. Liachon's identity and reputation to make the product appear credible. So that example was disinformation because it intentionally spreads false information to deceive the public, exploit trust, and potentially harm customers. So another example is a viral Facebook post claiming that journalist Karen Davila and former Senator Antonio Trillanes was involved in a romantic relationship, and that Karen Davila allegedly hid Trillanes during an interview. So, at first glance, the post appears dramatic and controversial, which immediately attracts people's attention. However, instead of reacting emotionally, I carefully analyzed the content and verified whether the claims had any factual basis. So the first thing I examined was the account that shared the post. So the page named Digong already suggested political bias, which is important to consider when evaluating politically charged content. I also noticed that the use of sensationalized phrases such as "please share guys," this type of wording is commonly used to provoke emotional reactions and encourage people to repost the content immediately without fact checking it first. So next is I examined the structure of the post itself, which is the image contained a fake play button, making it appear like a legitimate video report. So, however, this play button was only placed there as clickbait to encourage users to interact with the content. So I then clicked the attached link to verify whether there was an actual news report supporting the claim, but no legitimate article or official source existed. So it led me to search the keywords related to the alleged relationship, including the domain ptvbalita.info, Chelianes and Karen Davila relationship. So, but I found no verified evidence supporting the accusations. So, I also examined the domain name more closely. The website ptvbalita.info which imitates the branding of PTV or the Philippines Television Network, which is a recognized government broadcasting network in the Philippines. By copying the appearance and style of a legitimate media outlet, the creators attempted to borrow institutional credibility to make the fabricated story appear trustworthy. So, this is an example of imposter content. So, on the overview of on the search that I have conducted, I click the YouTube or the actual interview reference in the post that is in here, that is presented here. So I click it and I only found a YouTube video from Karen Davila's Head Start interview with Antonio Trillanes. So the interview merely discussed political and financial issues, particularly about bank transactions of the Dutertes. So there was absolutely no mention of a romantic relationship or any evidence supporting the accusations presented in the viral post. So after thoroughly examining the evidence, I identified the post as disinformation because it because it deliberately combines fabricated content. Because there is no evidence or there is no statements that confirms that there is a personal or romantic relationship between former Senator Antonio Trillanes and news anchor Karen Davila. So it was only an interview and it was based or grounded in professional interaction. So this information because it deliberately combines fabricated content, manipulated content, imposter content, false connection, and clickbait. The creators intentionally manufactured a false narrative to deceive people, manipulate public opinion, and damage the reputations of Karen Davila and Antonio Trillanes. So, the next example is a post that allegedly came from CNN claiming that President Bongbong Marcos said, "Hindi na funny ang memes ko. Na-hurt ako," alongside statements about enhanced modified general martial law. So I found this in Reddit. So at first glance, the post appears believable because it uses the logo, layout, and design style associated with CNN. Because many people tend to trust recognizable media organizations, the use of CNN's branding increases the likelihood that audiences will immediately believe the content without verifying it. So, to determine whether the post was authentic, I first conducted a reverse image search and searched for any official CNN articles related to the claim. So, however, after so there was no pictures or like posts on the CNN's articles in that I conducted the reverse image search. But then I I I prompted the exact quote like hindi na funny ang memes ko, na-hurt ako. BBM, bawal gamitin ang face sa meme CNN post on the Google search. But I found no related post or articles about it. So I found no legitimate CNN report containing the statement. This immediately raised suspicion regarding the authenticity of the image. I then analyzed and the details and timeline presented in the post. So one inconsistency I noticed was the the details and timelines presented in the post. So one inconsistency I noticed was the date. So which stated Wednesday, November 24, 2021. During this period, Bongbong Marcos was still a presidential candidate because the elections had not yet occurred. However, the headline already referred to him as PBBM or President Bongbong Marcos, even though the president during that time was still Rodrigo Duterte. This inconsistency in the timeline revealed that the post lacked factual accuracy. I also examined the statements written in the image. The quote about memes like hindi na funny ang memes ko, na-hurt ako, and the mention of enhanced modified general martial law ng Hulyo 2022 did not logically connect with each other. So the statements appeared randomly combined to create a sensationalized and emotionally provocative narrative rather than a coherent news report. So because of these inconsistencies, I identify the content as disinformation because it is a fabricated content because the story itself had no factual basis. It is also false connection because the headline, the timeline, and the visual presentation falsely connected unrelated information to make the content appear legitimate. So therefore, I classify this as disinformation because it intentionally spreads false and misleading information using the appearance of a credible news organization, which is the CNN, to deceive audiences and manipulate public perception. So, moving on with misinformation. So, misinformation is defined as false or inaccurate information spread without intent to deceive, often due to error or misunderstanding. So, an example of misinformation is a post from X, which is formerly known as Twitter, showing former Vice President Lini Robredo kneeling in church with a caption implying that she was thanking God because people were no longer talking about her. So, at first glance, some people may believe the statement because it contains an image of a public figure accompanied by an emotionally provocative caption. So, instead of immediately accepting the claim, I carefully examine the original source of the post. So, As I scrutinized the content, I noticed a label stating satire only. I then checked the profile of the account that originally posted it and found that it came from Philippine Daily News Society. So, which is a satire account. So, satirical content is intended for humor, parody, or entertainment and not meant to be interpreted as factual news. However, the situation changed when another user, which is a user here, uh, shared or reposted the satire content on Facebook without indicating that it was satire. So, because some viewers will fail to examine the original source and context, they will misunderstood or they might misunderstood the content and treat and may treat it as a factual statement from Lini Robredo. So, to verify whether the content was genuinely factual or satirical, I examined the account description, the labels used in the post, and the pattern of content uploaded by the page. So these indicators confirm that the original content was satire rather than legitimate news reporting. So therefore, I identified this as misinformation because this the false information was shared due to misunderstanding and lack of verification rather than deliberate intent to deceive. So we can see here that a user shared the post. So it is also considered satire and imposter content because the page imitates the style of news outlet while producing fictional or humorous content. So moving on with malinformation. So malinformation is accurate, factual information used out of context, manipulated, or released maliciously to harm, divide, or manipulate individuals, organizations, or countries. So a sample for this is a Facebook post of Representative Richard Gomez of Leyte 4th District. Richard Gomez. So, to give a brief context about this post, Representative Richard Gomez and the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines, or the NUJP, was involved in a conflict over transparency, data privacy, and the rule of the press. So, to give a brief context, again, in August 2025, a flood control project in Matag-Ob, Leyte was reported to have collapsed because of heavy rains. So after this incident, Mayor Berne Takoy allegedly connected the project to Representative Gomez. So because of this, several media outlets and journalists contacted the congressman to ask for his side of the story. So this is a normal and ethical practice in journalism called the right of reply, where reporters give a person the chance to respond before publishing a story. So instead of just answering the questions, screenshots of these interview requests were posted on on the account of um, Facebook account linked to Representative Richard Gomez. So in the post, the questions from the journalist were also described as a coordinated media spin, and it was implied that the journalists were working together as a part of a political attack. So when I search for the post or the official Facebook account linked to Representative Gomez, his name still appeared in the search suggestion in Facebook. So, however, when I prompted it, when I entered the click, when I click the enter button of Facebook, the actual account or post of Representative Richard Gomez is no longer accessible and available when directly accessed through Facebook search. So this suggests that the content posted by the representative was removed, restricted, or altered after being widely circulated and posted on Facebook. So this post is considered malinformation because the information used is actually real. Why? Because the screenshots reveal that the journalist really did send interview request, and it also show the real names of the journalist. So it was actually revealed here the names of the journalist. Okay, so the names of the journalists and their messages. So even though the information is true, it was shared and presented in a way that can harm the reputation of the journalist and make people think that they are doing something wrong. So the journalist only contacted him because they were reporting on the same news story. So it is normal for different news outlets to ask the same questions when covering the same issue. So this is not a coordinated attack, but a part of standard reporting practice. So the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines, the NUJP, responded by releasing a journalist alert and a public statement. So they raised two main concerns. So it said that there may be a violation of data privacy. Yes. So the screenshots were posted without hiding the names and contact details of the journalists. So this can expose them to at risk of harassment and fraud or unwanted attention, which is a concern under the Data Privacy Act of 2012. So second, the NUJP said that calling the journalist questions media spin is unfair on their end because they explained that asking for a comment is part of responsible journalism because it gives both sides of the story. So if a public official does not want to answer, it would be more proper to simply say no comment instead of publicly accusing journalists of wrongdoing. So, yes, so the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines actually addressed this issue. So, this is malinformation because the information shared is true, but it was used and framed in a way that can harm other people, especially journalists, and affect how the public sees, perceives, and think of them. So this is malinformation. So because it is based on factual information, but then it is used to cause harm or to shift the public opinion about them. So, misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation shows us that not everything we see online is accurate or harmless. Some content is misunderstood, some is intentionally made to deceive, and others use real information but are shared in a way that can harm people. So, this is why it is important for us to always think critically before believing or sharing anything online. We must check the source, verify the facts, and understand the context and intent behind every post. So by doing this, we become more we become more responsible digital users and help stop the spread of false or harmful information. So, this ends my presentation, and I thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.